Pappy's back this week. I've got a confession to make. I've made a fool out of myself trying to wire up these compressors, and I ended up buying motors I may not have even needed, but I did learn something. Years and years ago, before I got in the automotive business, I was like 15 years old, and I got a summer job working for an electrician. He was showing me how to, you know, do the residential type wiring and stuff in houses, when they were building them. And I was there to help pull wire and that sort of thing and trim out light sockets and switches and so forth. And I was watching how things went together, and I got a basic understanding, but I was only there a week, and he had to let me go because I was only 15, and I think it's something about insurance that he couldn't have me working until I was at least 18. And I just never went back to it. I mean, I'd already gotten bitten by the bug, and I started working at a tire store, and 50 years later, I'm still mounting tires. But anyway, that's just a part of my life that I started out with, but I had a basic knowledge of wiring, or at least I thought I did. And when I was wiring up these compressors, I've always used, I prefer to go with 220, even if you have the option of 110. I know the fact that anytime you increase voltage, you can reduce the amperage drawn, and amperage is what they're charging you for usually. So anytime you can make that meter spin slower, you're better off to go with. If you have the option of 220 or 110, always go with a higher voltage, at least in all cases I can think of, because it's going to be cheaper for you to operate. And it seems to run cooler. I proved that on an old compressor I bought from Snap-on years ago, and it had the option of 110 or 220, and that thing was popping 20 amp breakers. It was just a portable compressor on wheels, and I couldn't, once it got near the end of its cycle, where the pressure got up, it would trip the breaker. And I did some research and found out I could switch it over to 220, and I switched it over from a 20 amp 110 breaker to a 220 15 amp breaker, which actually reduced the amperage, but it was only pulling about 10 or 12 amps, so that was fine. It didn't have a problem. Used the same gauge wire and everything. And it reduced the heat. I noticed that motor didn't run near as hot either. So that set with me, and I always remembered that. Well, anyway, come forward 50 years, and we're wiring up these compressors, which I've done in the past several times. And when I wired my old garage, I had an electrician come and set the panel, and I ran all my wiring from there. He just set the panel because he had the permit and everything, and he set the panel and I think put in a basic one light and one outlet, and then I took it from there, and I wired everything in that shop, including the compressor. And I had plenty of room in that panel. Hence, today, this house, somebody had converted it over to heat pump. There's got like 4 big 220 breakers already in there just for the heating and HV of this house. 2 of them are listed as heat pump, one's listed as air conditioning, and one's listed as HVAC fan. So it takes up a lot of the space in the panel. And now I'm trying to do this garage down here. I've had to use space saver breakers, which are these little guys. It takes a space of a regular breaker, but it has 2 channels. And I thought when I did that I could save some space, and I would get a couple of these and plug those in, and I'd have 220, which I was wrong. That's why these motors wouldn't run. I was using this to check for power, make sure my power was there. That's the only thing I could find at the time. This tells you there is power there, but it doesn't tell you the voltage. It just tells you either you have power or you don't. It's kind of a safety feature, and you can use this, but that's all I had at the moment. And I wasn't fooling around with trying to find my multimeter. One of the leads was damaged, so I ended up just using this, and I wasted time, up to a month. Time, and then I bought 2 motors that I may not have needed both of them, although they sat in the weather a long time. They really did need replacing because of all the corrosion and stuff inside. All of that said, what I found out was when you plug in one of these breakers, it's a space saver. It's got 2 channels. If you look at the panel, it staggers from side to side. You know, it goes down like that. And there's 2 main legs coming in, and they alternate. So when you get 2 regular breakers side to side, like a 220 or standard full size 220, you got 2 channels, but they're on opposite poles, so it staggers back and forth. So you got line 1 and line 2 involved here. With this thing, you're both on the same channel. So I had 110 volts on each leg, yes, but you should be able to have 230 volts when you have each leg is powered up by a separate channel, you know, line 1 and line 2. And if you're going to use something like this, you have to use a team of 4 of them, and you use the 2 center ones where they're together, you know, where it plugs in. Anyway, I went ahead and used my little space savers and moved a bunch of stuff. When I found out, thanks to YouTube, you know, I found out what I'd done. And I used the little space saver breakers, and I moved individual circuits that were 15 amp each. I did 4 of them, and I moved them over. Actually, it's 20 amps, I think. I can't remember now. But anyway, I moved all those circuits over to space savers, and then I used that space to use a full size, you know, 220 breaker. So I had 2 of those, had room to put 2 of these in. That solved the problem. They run, they work. But I have put new motors on this and everything, and it didn't run. So I want to be the first to say I screwed up. And it cost me money, and it probably bored you watching. But anyway, we're going to plumb these today. We've got the electrical part is all done. You know, they run, and we're going to start pulling plumbing, and we're going to fire these up and see if they'll actually make good pressure. I had a few other things I had to take care of, like this sight glass was pouring oil out of it, and I couldn't find one that's threaded that same thread pitch, whatever it was, the sight glass, that is. The only thing I could find was pipe thread. So I ordered a 3/4 pipe tap, and I tapped it out to that and put this in place of that. It looks like a drain plug. You know, it has a seal on it. You know, this doesn't have a seal. It seals by threads, and I cut those in it and put some pipe dope on it. So now I have a sight glass back to where the other one was, and hopefully that won't leak. And then this other one was fine. I got all the water out of it. This one didn't have water in it, and I replaced the air filters and done some other maintenance. But we're almost there. We're ready to get ready to fire these up, but I want to have air lines to pump it to. So that's where we're going now. So with all that said, just watch me work. Okay, I did a little bit of digging. I ordered this kit from Amazon. I priced, you know, going with this cast iron stuff. It was just ridiculous what they're getting for that now. I used to buy that stuff pennies on the dollar compared to what they're charging nowadays. It's unbelievable what black iron or galvanized has gone to. So I can't afford that. And years ago, I used to use Schedule 40 PC or PVC, yeah, Schedule 40, you know, plastic pipe. And I didn't have any trouble out of it as long as you use the green glue and the purple primer. But everybody tells me that's unsafe. I don't run a lot of high pressure. I run my pressure. I'm trying to set everything at about 120 at maximum. You know, that's really all I need. Even bead blasting, it tends to pull the compressors down to about 80 or 90 when I'm doing it. So, you know, I don't need it to go to 175. I mean, that gives me a little bit more blasting time or whatever, but I want to be able to do my blasting based on the CFM of the compressor, not what it can build up and then do it in spurts. So that's what I say about that. But anyway, getting back to it, this Amazon kit comes with this airline, and it's rated to do what I'm wanting to do, and it's safe. It doesn't fragment and blow apart like the PVC. Yeah, PVC instead of PCV. Anyway, I always get those two mixed up. But with that said, we're going to go on with it. I found some fittings that I already have, and I've been throwing together, pipe bushings and so forth of everything I got here, and we're going to try to put together a system. I am going to have to run out and get, a couple of bushings I already see. I don't have anything. They sent 3/8 pipe plugs to go in these, but I need a bunch of 1/4 inch ones too, because I got all kind of air lines up here on the compressor, that need to be plugged off and so forth. And I'll use one to connect, but there again, it's 1/4, and this line uses 3/8 pipe. It does have a few 1/4 adapters, so we may be able to rig something that way, but I probably need to switch it to where it comes out the 3/8 pipe, where I can use the plastic line between the two is what I really want to do, and then go plastic all the way in. It looks safe. It's kind of like what they use on the airbags on vehicles and so forth too. But this whole kit was like 79, 80 bucks, something like that, which is a lot more affordable than these other kits are getting almost $1,000 to run, a few airlines throughout the shop. I'm just trying to get something I can afford. But I want to start out by powering up the big compressor and see. It had water in it. I want to see if it's going to be okay, and we're going to power it up. I've isolated it, shut it off. It's by itself. I threw in another gauge just to use as a pipe plug there. So that's why there's two gauges. But we're going to turn it on and see what happens. And we're going to power it up and then see if I can adjust this pressure there. Again, I want to keep my pressures down 120. I don't really want it going above that. Really don't need it. But anyway, just watch me work. Okay, I got my portable cameraman here. He's going to hold the camera for me, this tripod here. So I'm going to run in and turn this compressor on, and we're going to see how she does. Hopefully it all works like it should. I know the compressor runs. I've already run it, but I want to see what kind of pressure this compressor is going to make after being full of water all those years. I just hope it didn't damage it too bad. It seems to pump. I changed the air filter, changed the oil, so it's good to go. So we're going to turn it on and see how she does. I'm not overly impressed. It's only up to 55 pounds. It's been running a good while. It used to make a lot more, CFM than that. I don't think it's going to be any good. We'll just see. It might get better with time, but I'm not real happy with it right now. We'll see how it does. There's 100. Pop-off valve. Well, definitely going to need a new pop-off valve. It popped off at 100 psi. It's not correct. At least it still works, but it's not what we were looking for. All right, that's got all the air leaks. I don't hear any other air leaks. All right, I'm going to switch over to the other one. I'm going to blow the air out of this one. right, I got to find another pipe plug. It fell out. So, I guess until next week, we'll get some more parts. But hey, they both work and they're both making some pressure. I don't think this other compressor is going to be what we need, but we'll see. It might come around, you know. Like I said, it's been sitting 15 years, you know, in the weather, and it had water in the crankcase, or yes, the crankcase, if that's what you want to call it. Yeah, I guess it is. It does have a crankshaft, so it's basically an engine that it makes air. So that's what an engine does. It just pumps air. So that's what this does without ignition, though. It's driven by something else. I'm just babbling. So, well, until next week, give me a thumbs up. We'll get this going. We're getting there, just little bits at a time.